nice to see you.
Hey.
Good news from the injury room because Henderson, Hickey, and Yarmulke all available for this game. I mean, how reassuring is that?
Yeah, really good. Unfortunately, Yarmo went off last weekend. Took a knock, which I think everybody could see. Tried to run it off. Quite a strange one. Landed on studs in his abdomen region, and yeah, it was quite a nasty one. But we've nudged him through the week. He's got to a good place, so he's available. Aaron obviously picked up a little injury with Scotland going back to the last camp. So again, we've pushed him in as much as we can in a safe way. So good to have him available. And Jordan was very much just precautionary really around the exploits of a midweek game and prioritising minutes and equally giving the other players the opportunities that I've said previously they absolutely deserve.
And you're going to Palace on a real high. The form's been excellent. Igor Thiago nominated for Premier League Player of the Month. You look like you've got a 20-goal striker on your hands.
I think he wants more, is what I'm hearing. Didn't say that to me, but he's clearly in a very good place. Great rhythm in his game, playing with confidence, enjoying life. Yeah, he's been a pivotal part of what we've done, and it's nice to hear that he's been nominated because I think he deserves it.
Yeah, 6 goals in 9 games, hardly played last season. Is he on a mission after being frustrated for so much of last season?
That's probably about right, yeah, that's exactly what he's on. He's very, very determined to achieve things as a team, I think first and foremost, but as a byproduct of that, obviously he will achieve things as an individual, and I think it's the selfless way that he approaches games. You see how hard he works for the team, and I think from that his goals have come, obviously different types of goals as well, and he's really settled into a groove and a rhythm in the team, and players are loving playing with him, and I just think it's been just a case of getting him into that rhythm and building those relationships which I constantly speak about, and we've certainly started to see that more often in recent weeks.
And because of that, reports already this week that Spurs, Newcastle and Villa would quite like him in January. What do you say to those clubs who might be interested in him?
I think I've said pretty consistently over the last few weeks, I was really happy when the last transfer window closed. We're not even in November, so I'm not going to start talking about a transfer window that's 2 months away because I'm sure that will inevitably come closer to the time. Thiago's going absolutely nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. He's a pivotal part of this football club. Thiago doesn't want to go anywhere. That won't be happening.
This is an interesting game with Palace. You're both on 13 points in 9 games, both in the quarterfinals of the Carabao, and you're both long throw-in kings. You've got the most long throw-ins into the box this season. Palace is second. Is it going to be a long throw-in war at Selhurst?
I think it'll be part of the puzzle. The teams will have to deal with in both ways, obviously. A lot's been made of the long throws, obviously, this season. I think I've touched on this previously when I seen Arsenal do it in the Champions League semi-final last year against PSG. I felt there would be a snowball effect. That's what's happened. The data around the teams that have used it last season compared to this season is very, very different. Most teams, if not all teams, are using it and realising, I suppose, the danger that it can be, and if you've got the right type of individuals. But yeah, tomorrow's going to be a really tough game, and that will certainly be a part of the puzzle that we need to solve.
And IFAB are looking at the long throw-ins and throw-ins generally and talking about potentially bringing in a time limit. Do you see that coming yourself, and how much would that perhaps affect you?
I think if they looked at throw-ins, they'd have to look at every restart. Whether it's a goal kick, a deep free kick, wide free kick, so it's where you draw the line with that. I think naturally there's a lot bit more spotlight on long throws this season, and maybe people moaning about it on occasion brings it more to the spotlight. Maybe teams that can't deal with it, that don't like it. I've said before around the angle around this, I feel like there's a little bit of snobbery in the game. I still feel that, but as long as it's okay for the big boys to do it, it seems to be okay for everyone else to do it.
But the numbers of long throw-ins across the league is up in a big way. Do you feel you've weaponised it in a way which is forcing other teams to follow suit?
Yeah, I don't know is the answer to that, but I'm obviously aware of it and the frequency in which it's used now. Hasn't really changed for us. I was set piece coach last year, we used it a lot. Using it this year, and numerous players can do that for us. Michael Coyote obviously gets the headlines around it with the length that he's able to throw it, but we've got other players that can use it really, really efficiently.
What about the challenge at Palace this weekend? They're in excellent form too, but you're a real bogey team for them. 8 games in the Premier League. Palace have only ever won 1. Are you going to scare them this Halloween?
Very good. It's going to be a tough game. Both games last year, obviously I was here last year, both games were really, really tight. Real respect for what Oliver has achieved at the football club, clearly getting him into Europe, winning the FA Cup, real set way of playing that causes the opposition problems, very diligent how they defend, how they transition, set pieces. Very good side with a lot of talented individuals within that side, so it's going to be tight. I think we're going into it in a good place. They've had a good win during the week and having a good season, like you've alluded to. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one.
And just finally from me, on you, 6 wins from 12 games so far. You're into the Carabao quarter-finals. Brentford are flying high. How much are you enjoying this game?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it since day dot. To be perfectly honest, obviously results make them a little bit nicer. The days and the weeks, naturally, the confidence is pretty good in the group. The energy around the training ground is outstanding. So yeah, I've enjoyed it since I've been appointed in him previously. But yeah, clearly the last few weeks have been nice. Thank you.
And it started to feel different. Back-to-back wins, and the wins starting to come.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. I think that naturally the confidence of the group, and you see the development of the individuals within the group, and how they're starting to just take real steps forward in their individual performance within the structure of the team. And I think I keep saying it, the connections, the rapport, the relationships. I think you can see with some of the performance in recent weeks that can only help with the consistency of our performances. So yeah, it's been a nice feel for the last couple of weeks, clearly.
What about, do you feel any different in the last few weeks?
I really enjoyed watching us play. I think invariably I want to get results. Ideally you get the performance with the result. That's the ideal scenario, clearly, and then you watch your team grow and develop in the way that I think it has. There'll be days where you just need to find ways, and I think that's when your character and the grit of the group gets tested, and I like that about us. I think during the week is a good example of that. You go from playing Liverpool, playing in the way we did, to then going to face League Two opposition in the Cup, and I think that's a real good test of where we're at as a football club, where the players are at, the humility that we have to show, that I want to show, and I'm all about, and I think the players are very, very aligned to that. The football club is. So yeah, I'm enjoying things. I'm enjoying where we're at, but equally knowing that we want to continue to improve and develop as a group.
Just one on set pieces. I know you just said Arsenal in the semi-finals of the Champions League, but obviously it was something that Brentford, long throws in particular, have done. You obviously were the set piece coach. Now a lot of people are starting to do it. Does that give you a sort of sense of bit of satisfaction that maybe people have looked at that and gone, well, now everybody's doing it, basically?
I'd rather they weren't, if I'm honest. I said that last year. I just felt it would snowball, and naturally what happens is teams prepare for it more frequently now, not just the week when they play Brentford. So no, I'm not glad, actually.
Okay. And just lastly, one on Igor Thiago. I know you were asked, but I mean, what's his ceiling, do you think? How good can he be?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think he's already showed that he can be a top performer in the Premier League and give the opposition real headache with how he plays the game. I'm not sure many defenders would relish playing against him. And it just goes back to that rhythm, confidence. He's got it now. He's very demanding on himself. Some players you have to push. Sometimes you have to rein players in. He's more on the latter side of that, and just guide him towards the week, the training session, the way the game looks, and he's found a really good balance with that. Yeah, he's in a great place, and we just wanted to keep him there. And I think the goals will continue to follow with the performances that he's been producing, which have been very, very impressive. Thank you.
Let's go next.
Hi, Keith.
Hey.
Just going back to that win against Liverpool last weekend. Everyone watching the game was just in awe of Michael Corde's long throw to lift that first goal. Obviously, Matthias Jensen and Kevin Schade have excelled there as well. How sort of extensive is the coaching with the players to launch the ball to that extent, or is it something that they've just always possessed?
Yeah, before I came, obviously Matty was doing them. Kevin was in and around the time I came, where we started to utilise Kevin. Ethan Pinnock has one as well. Yeah, I think there's a good bit goes into it, in terms of how we train it consistently, how we monitor it, the routines that are prepared around whether it's first contact, second phase, etc. It's not something that we just take for granted that we're going to be successful at. You need to keep working on things clearly, so it's something we try and stay on top of.
Are they having competitions in training to see who can launch the ball furthest?
I think there'll only be one winner. He's the one who's taking them at the moment, so no, not quite competition, but we need to keep the other players on top of it as well.
Perfect. Cheers, Keith.
Thank you.
Who'd like to go next? Yes, Jack.
Okay.
Hey, Jack.
I just wanted to talk about one of the standout individuals against Grimsby, and that being Reece Nelson. Throughout his career, he's had to deal with multiple setbacks. I was looking into it. It's like at the start of his last 3 loans, he's suffered an injury pretty much right at the start. What sort of response have you seen to him after he had that little bit of period where he was out with illness?
A really good one. I've enjoyed Reece from the second I met him, really, in terms of the way he is, and he's a very mature young man, very serious about his game. I think naturally when you've had those little setbacks, you have to develop a level of resilience. I think he's done that. He's matured, he's understanding of his body. He had a very disrupted pre-season at Arsenal, and I always felt we would have to kind of just be a little bit patient with him to get him to a place where we could really impact the pitch and play the way I want our attacking players to play. So that's been a bit of a process, and naturally players want things straight away, and we have to be a little bit patient with him. But his approach to what we're doing, how he does it within that has been excellent, and I think the other night against Grimsby was a good showcase of that, what he's about. His attitude was brilliant, and the quality he showed, the appetite to really impact the game was very impressive.
Before Bukayo Saka, everyone at Arsenal was talking about Reece Nelson being the crown jewel of their academy. I had a look into it, and he's missed approximately 101 games through illness or injury throughout his career, and he's only 25. You talk about being patient with him. What steps do you have to take to protect a player like him?
I think you work back from what the game requirements are for me. So the position he plays, what do we want out of that player from a physical perspective? Because ultimately that's what it is in terms of the injury side of it, the emotional side of it, the psychological side of it. You work back from that, and then I think it's very simple. You need to be able to replicate it on the training ground, and then realise, can he do that in a game? And I think that's basically the alignment of what he can produce in training to what he then can do on the grass. And like I said, I think we've been building that over the last few weeks.
He's come in over the summer, and another person that he worked with at Arsenal, Mehmet Ali, came in as well. Do they have quite a close working relationship, or does Mehmet deal with other facets of the game?
Now, all our coaches are across all of the players and have connections, rapport, clips that they work with, the relevant players that they've been assigned to. He's naturally got a good relationship with him. He was involved in and around the time that we signed Reece, and had conversations with him about Brentford and his experiences, even though Mehmet had only been here for a couple of months or so at that stage. But now he's clearly got a good relationship with Reece.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about Fabio Carvalho. I know you said you don't want to entertain any talk about transfers, especially in the last day of October, but there were reports during the week about the possibility of him wanting a move in January and there being conversations with the club. Has there been anything between you two?
No, nothing at all.
Okay. I asked this last question out of personal intrigue, because I was listening to a podcast on The Athletic with Strasbourg head coach Liam Rossigna, and he was talking about dealing with multiculturalism within football, how some cultures, if you say meet at this time, it doesn't necessarily mean at meet at this time, so he gives his players a little bit more freedom. So I was wondering what approaches you take in dealing with multiculturalism at the club.
First, I'm big into punctuality, so that probably wouldn't be the best example for me, but I know where you're coming from. I think it's a really good area of discussion, something we discuss a lot with the coaching staff around our communication with them, because English isn't the first language for a lot of the players. It's been really good learning for me over the last few years when I've had to deal with more nationalities, people from different backgrounds. I've found it intriguing learning about that. But then ultimately, I think what you need to be is very respectful of where that person comes from, their culture, religion, like I've discussed. And then the communication to them, I think we've got a very inclusive group in general. Like we have days where we'll celebrate one of the players' heritage. So the most recent one I think was Yunus for Turkey. Yeah, so we had a Turkish day where we bring in caterers that will produce Yunus's favourite food and delicacies from the region, and we'll try and educate the staff, the players around where the players come from and their background. I think that's really important. So it's just an example of what I think the club do really, really well. But it's important to understand the individual. I speak about that quite a lot around the person before the player. I think that's a good example of exactly that.
So, Rossini's idea of what he said is training when everyone's ready would infuriate you.
I wouldn't go that far,
No.
but I think ideally you'd like to congregate in and around the same time. Would be ideal for me.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank
But each to their own.
you.
Thank you.
Hey.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discourse this season around the increased amount of set pieces, the importance of set pieces. I mean, in the Premier League, some people have expressed that they don't like it, would rather see more goals from open play, whereas someone like Arteta argues you have to find other ways to score in today's game because of the open play goals hard to come by. I was wondering, do you think an increased focus on set pieces was inevitable in the modern game, given the finer margins and more specialist roles introduced like yourself, Austin?
Yeah, possibly. But I just think you need to play to your strengths, really. If you've got a team that are capable of being really good from set pieces, you should probably use it. Would be my view. I think it's the way the club has always been wired here. In the first to have a set piece coach, they were slightly ahead of the game on that front. And I think you've always got to try and find ways and look at things slightly differently to the rest, and find those edges where you can.
I was looking at Brentford's numbers this season are very similar to the previous 4 Premier League campaigns in terms of goals scored and conceded, shots touching the opposition box. Possession about 5% lower, and the number of fast breaks have doubled. I appreciate it's a smaller sample size, but has that been an intentional tweak to maybe go on the break a little bit more?
Not really. No, not really. I think it's, like you said, it's 9 games. The team's been grown. I think we'll have a better feel of the stats and the way the team will be consistently over a larger number of games to see how we continue to grow and develop. And like I always say, you need to find ways. You need to be unpredictable how you play the game and continually look to evolve what you're doing, how you're doing it, and grow as a team. But certain things, obviously, we're very good at.
And then just one more from me. Spoken about Thiago, but another big number 9, Mateta, playing against. I'm sure Palace would have been focusing on how to deal with Thiago this week, but I'm sure you'll be focusing on Mateta. How challenging would it be to kind of stop him?
Yeah, clearly a good player. Plays to his strengths. The team know his strengths really well. He's been there for a few seasons now, and his stature and his in the group, I suppose, has grown, and his importance to what they do and how they play is very prevalent in the way the team is set up. Recently played for France, so I'll give you an idea of the levels that he's got to in his career.
Great,
Thank you.
Anything else before we go on Rebecca? Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
You just beat Liverpool last weekend and you described the performance as fit. I was just wondering, were there any specific mindset or preparation changes you made going into that game to give the squad that edge, and how do you plan to carry that momentum forward to tomorrow?
Nothing too different, I don't think. Just wanted us to approach the game off the back of playing particularly well against West Ham in a similar type of way. Obviously, tactically it's slightly different, little tweaks here and there, but the approach for me needed to be with the same bravery and the same appetite to really make life uncomfortable for them when they come to our ground. And this week's been nice, bouncing on from that. A lot of players have got minutes during the week. Good win in the cup, and then naturally we start to spring forward to this game on Thursday around our preparation. So just looking to continue to take steps in the right direction, really. Thank you.